Even though I have a light in my scene, I won't see the lighting in the viewport unless I enable the viewport quality settings. I'm going to maximize this perspective view with Alt-W. And up here in the viewport menu, we have several items. We have the viewport type, and then we have the shading type, and then we have some shading options. The middle menu here is the shading type. It's defaulted to standard, which is the mode that should work on pretty much any hardware, and things like lights and shadows are disabled. We can enable lights and shadows just by going up here and clicking on this menu and choosing high quality. And it might take a moment to kick in, and also high quality is subjective and it's completely dependent upon your hardware. If you have really good video hardware or a great graphics card, then you will see much higher quality in the viewport than if you had just a basic graphics card. We should be seeing shadows, except for the fact that when you create a light, shadows are disabled. And that's just to prevent your scene from getting bogged down by unnecessary features. I'll select that light, go over to the Modify panel, and in the General Parameters here, under Shadows, I'll just turn them on. And now you can see pretty clearly we've got those shadows going. And if I grab the Move tool and move that light up and down, when I move it inside that lampshade, we get a very dramatic shadow in the scene. All right, back in this menu here, what I like to do instead of going into high quality is to control the quality manually. And the way to do that is to put it back into standard mode. Then in that menu, you have a submenu that's listed as lighting and shadows. And in here, you can choose what features you want. Right now, we're seeing default lights. There's lighting actually attached to the camera. As we move the perspective view around, the lights move with the camera. If I choose Illuminate with Scene Lights, now we can see the result of the actual lights in the scene. I can go back into that menu, back into Lighting and Shadows, and enable shadows manually as well. And this way, I can actually control how much of my GPU or graphics card is being utilized. I can turn shadows on and off if I want, or I could turn ambient occlusion on and off. That's the setting for contact shadows. I do actually want to leave that off because that effect will only appear in the viewport and it won't appear in a rendering unless I take a lot of very complicated steps. And then even then, what we see in the viewport will not match what we see in the rendering. I don't use ambient occlusion because it's just going to slow down the system and it's not really going to give us any benefits. But shadows are important. I need these hard or cast shadows because shadows are actually a visual compositional element. And it's important for us to know what parts of the scene are being illuminated and what parts are being occluded by other objects. Cool. So that's how you control the viewport display quality in order to set up your lighting.